All navigation we've looked at so far has been in open water. The plotting and position fixing techniques we've learned have been undertaken when out at sea, having already departed the harbour. But when we're close to the shoreline, particularly when departing or entering a harbour, our navigational needs change. As we are generally in more confined waters, our positioning needs become more acute. Hazards tend to be closer together, and our need to know where we are becomes almost real-time. We have to switch to using more visual navigation techniques, using our relationship to objects and references around us to make sure we're clear of any dangers. We start to employ heads-up navigation rather than chart plotting techniques. This is called pilotage. We commonly require pilotage when we are departing our home marina, heading out on a trip, and then again when arriving at a new location for an overnight stay. But it also includes the process of getting safely into an anchorage or onto a mooring buoy, even if that's just for a lunchtime stop. Think of it as the section of our journey in confined water where we are usually either detaching ourselves from or reattaching ourselves to land, even if that's via an anchor. Pilotage is something that can be executed from the cockpit, not requiring a chart or to do work at the chart table, and will focus on our relationship to charted objects. There are many things we can use to visually relate ourselves to objects, from simply our proximity to buoys, perhaps bearings to charted objects, or naturally forming transits, along with our heading and distance travelled. A combination of all these allows us to safely enter a harbour, knowing where we are all the time. Given it's a visual navigational technique, we need to plan according to our situation. Entering a harbour at night is a very different experience to that of entering in the day, and whilst not impacting our heading or distance travelled tools, we become reliant on the navigational lights of buoys and other charted objects. Our ability to see objects may also be impacted by weather. Relying on visual references could be impacted by fog or even just a very heavy downpour. The techniques we employ for pilotage will need to account for our ability to see. We specifically look at navigational techniques in restricted visibility, fog, in the weather module. To ensure we get in or out safely, we have to consider a few other things too. There's the local rules and regulations, some of which may be signposted on harbour walls or navigational aids. But if we're learning the rules at this stage of our entry, we've not done the prerequisite planning. We'll be learning where we can find this information prior to arrival of a harbour later in the module. Hopefully you recall the session on local notices to mariners, which is our source of up-to-date information about a port or harbour, and we should check if there are any notices that might impact our pilotage. Some harbours may only be accessible at certain levels of tide, whilst many harbours will have multiple routes. Deciding our chosen route, or if we can get in at all, will depend on knowing the height of tide, how deep the water will be. If we were approaching Port Fraser from the west, there are 3 possible routes in, each with different depth of water requirements depending on our draft. The shortest route is the shallowest, and trying to get in this way could result in the longest route if we have to wait for the tide cycle to refloat us. The longest route, around to the main channel, comes with its own challenges. We're more likely to run into commercial shipping if using the main front door of a harbour. And of course, there's the tidal stream. Just because we are close to land doesn't mean it won't impact us. We don't have time to do a course to steer, so we need to employ other techniques to ensure we're counteracting any tidal stream and remaining where we want to be, along a safe ground track. For many, this is the most stressful part of sailing, as there's always a lot going on, all whilst we tend to be in the shallowest water. There's the awareness of any other vessels in the vicinity. We tend to be hoisting or lowering sails. We're usually having to prepare or stow fenders and warps. And if we're on our way into a marina, we may well need to get berthing instructions over the radio. But with a bit of planning, it can be accomplished without too much stress. A well thought through pilotage plan will have lots of things the crew can help with to make life easier too. Preparation before we leave the marina is usually a relaxed affair. We could be thinking about our plan days, even weeks in advance. We have plenty of time for research, and getting access to information is easy. Ending our journey comes with a bit more pressure. If we're planning to go somewhere specific, then some preparation can be done in advance, even before we've left our home base. But there are circumstances where this might not be possible or even feasible, especially when our plans have to change and, for whatever reason, we end up going somewhere different. If we learn some core skills and follow a simple process, we can reliably produce a plan to get us safely in or out of a harbour in a relatively stress-free manner. We can break down the process into 4 stages. These same stages are used for voyage planning too, so getting familiar with them and approaching pilotage in this way will get us ready for planning trips from dock to dock, not just for the beginning and end of our journey. The first stage is appraise, the thinking stage. We'll start to build a picture of how our departure or arrival will play out and gather the necessary information and tools we'll need. There are many sources of information from online to nautical publications, including sailing directions, and we'll be exploring how to use them. Next, we need to develop our plan. Once we've gathered all the information, we need to create our plan, something we can use to get safely to or from our mooring and into open water, or vice versa. So we'll be exploring ways we can do this later in the module. Then we need to execute. Crunch time. This is where we go step by step through our plan. A well-constructed plan will allow us to execute heads up, so we can continue with all our other operational duties as skipper whilst remaining safe and knowing where we are. Our plan needs to allow us to stay away from the chart table and our eyes away from the chart plotter. The final component is monitor. We need a way to monitor our plan and execution. As our pilotage unfolds, we need to know where we are on our plan. This is not only reassuring, but also critical for moments when our plans need to change. Perhaps because a large commercial vessel is currently occupying the channel that we had planned to cross. We'll be learning about how to develop and execute a successful pilotage plan using this process in this module.